Hello and welcome. You are now listening to the Space Witch podcast. I'm your host, Whitney Levesque. I'm a professional astrologer and tarot reader, and this is my podcast where I take different esoteric ideas and concepts and break them down so that they're easy to understand for everyone. Welcome to the podcast. Thank you guys so much for being here with me this week. As always, I'm so excited to be here and sit down and have these conversations with you guys. So yeah, I hope you're all having an amazing week so far. Today, I'm going to be talking about human design, what it is, the different energy types. And yeah, I'm really excited. I can't remember if I mentioned it on the podcast before, but I'm currently in the process of learning human design through Intuition Lifestyle, which is like a bunch of classes on human design. It is so fascinating. I can't wait to get really good at it and actually understand everything so I can start doing human design readings. But right now I'm kind of just getting into it, and it's so cool, so fascinating. So yeah, I'm just going to get right into it. I'm going to start off by talking a little bit about what is human design, because it's a very new thing, I feel like, even though I think it's been around since the 90s, and not a lot of people know about it or talk about it. So human design, what is it? Basically, from what I understand, it's a combination of a lot of different things, which is why when I try to tell people what it is, it's always kind of confusing, and I probably use a lot of the wrong words and terminology. But don't worry, I did my research for this show, so hopefully I won't be giving out any wrong information, but who knows, I'm still learning. But yeah, so human design, it's a combination of astrology, the I Ching, Kabbalah, and the chakras. The man who discovered it or came up with it, he goes by the name Ra Uru Hu. Hopefully I'm not totally butchering his name. And from what I've heard and read is that he basically was I guess he was out in a cave somewhere and was fasting, or he didn't eat or anything, and he literally got this human design as it was a 7-day download. He spent 7 days just downloading all this information and what that is. And for those of you who don't know what a download is basically just it's kind of just when the universe or spirit or whatever you want to call it just gives you information and you don't know what it is or where it came from. It's just it's a download, literally what it sounds like, where you just get all this information. And so this guy spent an entire week downloading and channeling this thing called human design. And it's super fascinating. A lot of it's about your energy and manifesting, which is why I titled this episode, "What type of manifestor are you?" Because knowing your energy type does help with manifesting and, calling things in. So I'm going to go over 5 different energy types. Some people, I guess, will say there's only 4 because one of them, I guess, just doesn't count for some reason. But I learned it with all 5. So I'm going to talk about the 5 different energy types in today's episode. So with all that being said, let's just get right into it. The first energy type that I'm going to... Oh, actually, before I do this, if you guys don't know what your energy type is, just do a quick little Google search. Go on Google and just type in human design chart, and then you'll put in your birthday and the time you were born and all that stuff. And then it'll pull up a chart. I always use a different one, so I don't have one single site that I can recommend right now. But yeah, it'll pull up a chart, and then it'll just say it. It'll just say if you're a generator or a manifestor or whatever. So if you want to go look at that and then kind of follow along with the episode, or listen to the episode and do it later, totally up to you. But yeah, just do a quick little Google search and just write human design chart, and then put all your info in, and it'll just tell you what type of energy type you are. So okay, so let's get into it. So there's 5 different energy types. You have your generators, which make up 70% of the population. It's the most common one. Then you have manifestors, which are also a more common one. And then you have manifesting generators, and this is the one that a lot of people, I guess, there's a little bit of controversy around it, and that's why some people don't include it in the energy types. But I'm a manifesting generator, so I'm going to talk about it in this episode. And then you have projectors and reflectors, which are Those two, I guess, are much less common, especially reflectors. Reflectors are very rare, which is really interesting. So, yeah, I'm going to talk a little bit about all of those and what they are. So every energy type, it has its own set of gifts. Not one is, none of them are good or bad. It's just like astrology. Like none of this is objectively good or bad. It's just different energy types and just different ways to work with those energy types. And that's a lot of what I'm going to be talking about is like, what type of energy do you have and how can you work with that? I'm also going to be going over the strategies. So every energy type has a different strategy. The strategies are very, very important because it just, how do I put it? It's just how you go about things. It's something you want to pay attention to. So yeah, the strategies are very, very important because it basically shows how you can maximize your ability to attract different opportunities and synchronicities into your life. So it's basically just like how to work with your energy to manifest the things that you want. And it's just one of the crucial things for what I've learned in human design. So that's something I'm going to be going over. I'm also going to be going over the signatures for every energy type. So every energy type has a signature. And this is important because this is like the highest vibrational feeling for each energy type. It's the best way you can feel. And we all know that, you manifest more things when you're in that high vibrational energy state. And so how cool is it that we have this way of knowing like what that energy state is and how to feel it and work with it? I'm going to be going over that for each type. And then we have the non-self themes, which this is great because the non-self theme shows, basically how to tell when you're misaligned, right? When it comes to manifesting, we talk a lot about shifting into alignment and shifting out of alignment. And the non-self theme is incredible because I say incredible, like it's amazing. I think it's very handy because, it's good to know when we're misaligned, to tune in and know when we need to shift back into alignment. So that's the very cool thing about these energy types is it teaches us when we're out of alignment, what we want to look for to get back into alignment, how to work with our energy to manifest. So yeah, it's very, very cool. And I think you guys are going to get a lot out of this episode. So that's just the basic structure of everything. Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and dive right into it. So I'm going to start off by talking about generators. And like I said, generators are, they make up like 70% of the population. They're very common. The generator's strategy is to respond. So the cool thing about generators, right, is they're like a magnet for ideas and opportunities. And that's basically what it is. Like you guys are like these like visionaries. Like you get these ideas, and when you get these ideas, you have to act on them. And when I think of generators, I think a lot about like, how do I put it? I think about it like when I'm sitting in meditation and I get an idea and that idea comes to me and I'm just like, I get so excited that I have to act on it. That's what I think of when I think of generators is you get these ideas and it lights you up and you guys just have to act on it. You're generating the ideas. So that's your strategy, right? Is you need to respond to your ideas or just to respond in general. Your signature, so the highest vibrational feeling that you could possibly feel is satisfaction. You want to feel satisfied with what you're doing. You want to be happy with what you want to be happy with your work. You want to do things that light you up and just truly make you happy and feel good. Your non-self theme is frustration. So I imagine this is like if you have an idea and you can't get it out there or you're not sure if you should act on it or not. This can cause a lot of frustration. The other thing about generators is that you guys have a defined sacral center. So that's typically how you can see if someone's a generator in the chart is if they have a defined sacral center. So the key thing for generators is you guys really need to follow what feels good because the sacral center, that's all about like things that feel good. It's about sexuality. It's about pleasure. It's about sensuality, just enjoying things, having fun. So with generators, you guys really need to focus on having fun and just doing what feels good and doing what lights you up. And the thing about generators too is sometimes you guys can be afraid to follow your joy or your intuition. Like you might have issues with not trusting your intuition because you can be afraid to follow that because naturally you follow what feels good. But I think sometimes you guys almost get scared and it's like, it can be kind of like, you're afraid to follow it because it feels too good almost like, it's like, it's too good to be true. But the key thing is you guys literally need to just follow that and have fun. It reminds me of like an affirmation or something I heard somewhere, but I heard this affirmation that was like my only my only thing that I need to do in life is have fun, or my purpose is to just have fun, or actually, you know what it was? My job, my only job in this life is to have fun. And I feel like that's like such a good mantra for generators, is you guys just need to have fun. And really, I always tell people this, regardless of their energy type. I'm like, the second you focus on having fun and doing things that bring you joy, the sooner all those things that you want to manifest come to you anyway. So that's really the key thing for generators, is following that joy and that pleasure and that happiness and that satisfaction, right? Because that's your highest vibrational feeling, is satisfaction. So you really want to lean into that. So that's the first energy type. The second one I'm going to go over is manifestors. So manifestors, they're another pretty common one, like generators, because they're like an energy type, and I'll kind of explain a little bit more about that later. Manifestors, their strategy is to inform. So they really like to inform people about stuff. I look at these energy types as like teachers, leaders. They really want to, they have a message that they want to get out to the world. Their signature is peace. So the highest vibrational feeling that a manifestor can feel is peace, and that's something they should lean into. And their non-self theme, so when they're out of alignment, when they're not feeling good, is anger, right? They can get really frustrated and angry. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. But that's just the base facts about them. You can tell if someone's a manifestor because they have a defined motor center connected to the throat in their chart. They, like I said, I view this energy type as like, they're leaders, they're visionaries, they're teachers. They see what other people don't see. Like, they have this thing that they see and they're going to go work towards it. And not everyone sees that. So not everyone gets on board with them, but they want people to get on board with them. But they're also very independent in the sense that if you're not on board with them, they're like, fine, you can go do your thing over there. And I'm going to be here and I'm just going to go do it anyway. And because of this, because people don't see what they see, they feel very misunderstood, like people don't get them. They can be very rebellious because they think that everyone's trying to control them. When I was taking my class with Intuition Lifestyle, which this is where I'm getting a lot of my information from, by the way, you guys, because it's the only class I've taken, and I'm probably going to read some books on this at some point. But right now I'm just taking this class with Intuition Lifestyle. And so I definitely recommend it too if you guys are looking to learn more about this. But yeah, so they feel like people don't get them. They're rebellious. They think everyone's trying to control them. They can be like the problem child. And because like, you know, they deal with like people getting angry at them or not seeing everything, or other people not seeing what they see, they can learn to not trust their intuition or their visions. They tend to get called like childish or unrealistic or demanding, but they're very strong-willed. Like they just have this vision. They know what they're going to go after, and they're going to go do it no matter what. They're just very independent in that way. And I think because people don't always see what they see, that does cause the non-self theme of anger for them, right? Like, it's angry when people just don't understand you. So that's manifestors, right? Like they're really interesting to me. They remind me a lot of the sign Aries. Like, that's the funny thing, as I'm going through these energy types, they remind me of like a lot of different signs, even though there's only 5, so I can't really put all the signs to one, although I'm sure I could if I decided to. But when I hear manifestors, I think a lot of the signs like Aries and Aquarius. So that's your manifestor. The third one I'm going to go over is the manifesting generator, which is pretty much exactly how it sounds. It's like a combination of manifestor and generator. This is the type that I am. And when I learned about this, I was like, oh my God, this is so me, which is very similar to how I got into astrology. It was I learned about my Aquarius rising and I was like, oh my God, it's me. So yeah, this resonated a lot. And so the thing with manifesting generators, their strategy is to respond and inform. So that's basically the way you work with that energy, is you have to respond to the ideas you're getting. You have to inform people. Your signature, the highest vibrational feeling you can feel as a manifesting generator, is satisfaction and peace. So you feel really good when you're satisfied and you're peaceful. And the non-self theme for manifesting generators is anger and frustration. So you can tell when someone's a manifesting generator because they have a defined sacral and motor center connected to the throat. They often feel like they don't fit in. They're very much like initiators, like they initiate and create. That's something they're very big on because like they're generators, so they're getting these ideas, and then, you know, being the visionary manifestor, they're like, oh, I have to act on this. And because of this, manifesting generators have this rep for like just getting way too ahead of themselves. So like they'll go all in on something and then they'll realize like, oh shit, I missed all these other little steps. Let me backtrack. And I thought that was so funny when I learned that, because it's so true for me. Like I mean, I'm usually like all in or not at all, or I go into something and I might just be starting something small, but I have this huge vision for it. And my boyfriend makes fun of me for this a lot, because he's like, okay, whoa, you're like 12 steps ahead of yourself. Like take a step back, relax. And the other thing about manifesting generators is that they can be all over the place. They can't make up their mind. They have a reputation for not being able to stick with things. And just like manifestors, they're rebellious. They don't always tell anyone what they're up to, or they ignore their intuition and shut themselves down before anyone else can. And from what I learned from Intuition Lifestyle is that they either shame their manifestor side or they shame their generator side, which is really interesting. But basically the manifesting generators, like they're kind of all over the place. They're, like I said, they get 12 steps ahead of themselves. They're definitely like the multitaskers, right? Like they will do a lot of stuff. I think her name's Eden, the woman who I'm learning human design from through, her business Intuition Lifestyle. She's a manifesting generator herself, and she talks about how she was like going to school full time and running her giant business and going to the gym. And I related so hard to that, because at one point in my life I was taking college classes full time and I was working 2 jobs somehow, and it was very stressful. But I did it. Like we're a very busy energy type. Like we're always having to do all this stuff. So we like to be busy, but also I don't think it's always good for us to be busy. Like we're a type that really needs to focus on self-care. But I think it's amazing because we have the visionary side of, being a manifestor, and the generating side of like having these ideas. So it's like we get the idea, we respond, we act on it. And we just have this vision and we're going to do it no matter what. So, I love it. I think it's very interesting. I can definitely see how there's a lot of anger and frustration because, what can happen because we get so ahead of ourselves with being manifesting generators is, we get angry and frustrated because we have this idea and it's like the wheels are spinning, but we're not going anywhere. And so sometimes we struggle a little bit to like figure out how to dig ourselves out. And that's definitely something I run into a lot. Like I used to just give up on stuff because I'd be like, well, it's not working right now. So, like I wanted that instant gratification, and it's been a huge learning lesson for me to realize like I have to be patient. I have to give it time. Nothing's going to happen overnight. Like I just need to chill. So yeah, so that's pretty much, I think, everything I have to say about manifesting generators. Now we're going to talk about projectors, which are a non-energy type. They're one of the more rare they're one of the more rare energy types out there. Projectors, their strategy is to wait for the invitation. Their signature, the highest vibrational feeling that they could feel is success. And their non-self theme is bitterness. So when they're out of alignment, they feel bitter. They have no defined so projectors have no defined sacral or motor throat, but they do have some definition in their chart. Projectors are known as like the guides of the collective. They want to be recognized for their perspective. And like I said, they're considered a non-energy type. So they're a little more, I don't know, I want to say a little more chill. I don't know if that's the right word, but they're not so focused on the ideas and the going and the doing like manifestors, generators, and manifesting generators are. They struggle with thinking that like nobody sees them, or that they need to convince people that they are valuable, or that they can't keep up. They may feel like they're not allowed to explore or learn things that they love. If I remember correctly, they have like a very different view on things. Like they see things from a very different perspective. From what I understand too, like projectors are very strong in who they are. They're very like, it's almost like they don't need to prove anything to anyone. They know they have like all the answers already within them. And what's interesting about them is they really want to be recognized for their perspective. They want people to recognize that they have answers within them, and they'll give them to you, but they kind of want the credit or the accolades for it. They want people to recognize that, yes, they have something that's valuable, but not everyone really sees it, but they want people to see it, right? Like they have this very kind of like, I don't know, based on pictures I've seen of celebrity projectors, they're very like almost like kind of closed off. Like it's a much less open energy. Like it's interesting if you Google certain celebrities with the different energy types, because if you look at pictures of generators, like the examples from my class were like Deepak Chopra and Oprah Winfrey, they have like this very open energy. And when you look at projectors, it's like you can tell that they know something, there's something going on in there, but you don't quite know what it is. It's much more closed off, and they want to guide people, and they want to be recognized for their perspective and all the stuff that they know. And what's interesting is because they're like a non-energy type, it's like almost like they want to help people, but they're not going to go to you to help you. Like you have to kind of go to them because they don't have the physical like energy to go to you. So you kind of have to go to them and acknowledge their perspective and that, they can help you. But it's very different. It's interesting too with these energy types. Like we're going to find when I go talk about reflectors in just a moment, it's a very similar thing. Like they don't have the energy, so their energy gets taken on by other things. But I think that's about all I have to say about projectors. Actually, one more thing I want to say is so it's interesting that because projectors don't chase people, they don't go after them, people do start to see like, oh, you're so strong in yourself, like you don't need anybody else, or you don't need to chase people for the answers. When people start to recognize that you're kind of able to hold your own, they sort of get more magnetized to that, which is really, really interesting. So yeah, that's all I have to say about projectors. Let's move on to reflectors. Now, reflectors are super, super rare, and so rare, in fact, that the person who's been teaching me human design mentioned that they haven't even really worked with any reflectors because it's just so uncommon. So reflectors are a non-energy type. I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, that most reflectors, if you look at their chart, they don't have any defined chakras, which, by the way, I don't think I mentioned this, but defined means like if it's colored or not, basically. So when you look at a human design chart, you'll see that like different centers are colored in and others aren't. So the energy centers are going to be, that's how you know if it's defined, is based on like if it's colored in or not. So reflectors don't have like any colored in chakras, I guess, from what I understand. And reflectors, their strategy is to wait a lunar cycle. They're very connected to the moon. Their non-self, when they're out of alignment, is disappointment. They get very disappointed. And their signature, the highest vibration they could possibly be in, is surprise. So the thing about reflectors is something that was brought up to me during this course that I'm taking is like, the moon reflects the light of the sun, and the moon has a different energy based on what phase it's in. So given all that, because there's nothing really, if I'm remembering this correctly, if there's nothing really illuminating or lighting up these energy centers like reflectors, they don't have those energy points. So it's like they're always going, how do I put it? It's like basically because they don't have like their own energy, their energy changes on a daily basis, like based on what's going on with the planets and the moon. And even like there's different human design charts for the day that can affect you, from what I understand. There's like, so some days like reflectors might be more a generator, or they might be a manifestor, or they might be a projector. Like their energy is just constantly changing, and they tend to, like, they're just, because they don't have these defined centers, they're very open, and they mirror and magnify and amplify everyone around them, just always taking on different things. So basically with reflectors, it's just like every day they're a little bit different. And so something they struggle with is, is this really part of me? Who am I? Is this mine? Like they kind of struggle with their identity a little bit, from what it sounds like. And one of the big things about reflectors is that they see things that other people don't. Like they have this really incredible way, like they see people, they understand people, they're very wise. Like they're great people to go to for advice, because they see everything from such a different perspective, and they see all these little details and bits of information that other people don't see. And their non-self thing that they struggle with is disappointment, because they see the potential, they see how great the world can be and how great other people can be, and they feel really disappointed because they see all these people, like all these generators out there that have all this energy to do stuff, And when they see that people aren't doing it or using it, they feel very disappointed because they don't have the energy to do it. Like their energy is not aligned that way where they can do anything about it, but they can see the potential. And so they struggle a lot with feeling disappointed when people just aren't taking their advice or aren't, able to see what they're seeing. So that's a big thing for reflectors. And again, if you look at pictures of some famous reflectors, I think the Queen of England is one. That's for some reason, it's the only one I can think of at the moment. There's a few others too, but you can tell just by looking at them, they're very, see it in their eyes that they see things differently and they see things that other people don't see. So yeah, that's reflectors. I think that's all I have to say about them. And yeah, I hope this podcast was helpful to you guys. I hope you enjoyed this week's podcast. I hope you learned something. If you did, take a screenshot, tag me on Instagram. And if you're not following me on Instagram, definitely go ahead and do that. You can follow me at space.witch.astrology. Put it in the show notes. You can also join me on Facebook. I have a page you can like. And then we also have the Facebook group, the Space Witch community, that you can come join and get in on all the fun. And it's one of those things where like the more people join, the more fun it is. So definitely consider doing that. And as always, my books are open for readings at any time. You can shoot me an email or a DM on Instagram. And yeah, and I have my page. Be sure to go check that out. The link for all that stuff will be in the description. I love you guys so much. Thanks again for listening. Be sure to like this and subscribe if you're listening on YouTube. Leave a rating and a comment. I have so many calls to action today. I'm so sorry, you guys. I forgot to do like a break in the middle of the show to tell you guys some of this stuff to like break it up. But just remember, anytime you can rate, leave a comment, share this with a friend, share it on social media. It helps me out so much and I super appreciate it. Appreciate you guys even just listening. So thanks again for being here with me this week. Don't forget, you are so much more than your sun sign, and I'll catch you here next time on the Space Witch podcast.